Hey there, and welcome to Pro Tools 101 Exercise 9. Once again, broadcasting from the equipment cage at LACC. Okay, Exercise 9, editing audio. Let's jump into it. In this Exercise 2 tutorial, you will use the memory locations that you created in Exercise 8 to clean up the VO track and add a fire effect. And we're also going to shorten the music tracks because they go longer than 30 seconds. And if you have ever watched or listened to a commercial and timed it, they're all, not all, but they have specific time frames. The most common time frame for a commercial is 30 seconds. It can't be 29 seconds. It can't be 31 seconds. It's got to be 30 seconds. So it looks like we need to do some trimming. Okay. Media files, we already have them. They're in the media files folder. Getting started, as I've said before, if you want to, sorry, my phone's going off. If you want to use a session file that's already been done for you up until this point, you can go to the completed projects folder and open up Exercise 8 sample. Do that if you feel like you've gotten lost with the session that you've been creating week after week after week. But if you have been updating your session week after week after week with the exercises, you should be at this point right now where we're at. But if not, they've got one ready to go for you. So mine is, let's see, Exercise 8. Let's find that. Where did I put that? Right there. I put it in the completed exercises folder. Exercise 8 KT. Double click on that. And the first thing they're going to want me to do is save it as Exercise 9. So I will. Very wise. Just get this out of the way. There we go. Okay. First thing we got to do, configure the session. Click on the grid value pop-up selector and set the grid to 01000. So that's bars and beats. So 0 bars, 1 beat. So that is 1/4 of a note. This is what we call a 4/4 session. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are setting the grid to create grid lines every beat or every quarter note. So let's do that. And like I said, this is a music-based exercise. In this class, everything that we're going to do, like when you leave this class, you're going to be doing stuff with for cinema. So everything you're going to be doing is time code and minutes and seconds. So, but for this class, we'll be kind of playing with music as well. So here's grid. You want to make sure it's highlighted so we can see it, because when it's not highlighted, there's no grid. When it's highlighted, we see the vertical grid lines. Click right here, and here's where we could choose our different grid lines. So, for example, if we did a half note, watch how they spread out. See that? Or if we did a grid aligns every bar, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it would look like this. But that we want it on the quarter note. We did a little bit of this when we did input quantizing with MIDI, when we forced the MIDI notes to lock into the beats. So even though I didn't play rhythmically, it quantized the notes that I created by basically pushing them to the nearest beat, so I at least sounded somewhat rhythmic. It's actually... I shouldn't go on record with this because I don't know this 100%, but there are rumors that certain musicians in the world cannot keep a perfect rhythm. In fact, I would say most of them don't. Which I think kind of makes music interesting personally. But if you're creating a song that needs to have perfect rhythm, when you record, you can do this quantizing thing that we learned in the MIDI chapter to, as long as your beats are close, quantizing will push the notes or push the beats to the nearest grid point. So you'll sound like, as accurate as a robot. So, but that's all back in the MIDI chapter. And if you want to explore more about that, I would say go back and do, I think it's exercise 6. And exercise 6, was it 6? 6 or 7? Might have been 7. Okay, so quarter note. I just want to show you this too. If I put this in minutes and seconds, then my grid lines would be based on that. 1 second, 500 milliseconds, 100 milliseconds, and so on. If I did time code, then I could set grid lines every 1 second, 5 frames, frame, half a frame, quarter frame, or subframe. So whatever your time choice is, that is what the values that they're going to give you to choose from. So we want bars and beats for this one, quarter note. Okay. Editing the voiceover and placing the fire sound effect. So we will use the memory locations we created earlier to edit the audio. We need to remove any background noise that might be present. So let's remove the noise before the voiceover starts. Recall the VO start memory location by clicking on it in the marker's ruler. Select the VO track by clicking on its nameplate. The edit cursor will appear on the track. Edit trim clip start to insertion to remove the portion of the clip before the memory location. So let's do that. Come on. There we go. Okay, let's choose the nameplate because that's what we're dealing with. So there is some noise here, I guess, that we don't want. We just want to cut it out. So because we made a memory location, we can just double click on it. And as you can see, our cursor is there. Then there's a couple things we can do. One, we can go to our trim tool and we can click right here and it'll trim it. But it doesn't trim it to where our selector is. It trims it to where we placed our mouse. So I don't know if that is exactly where I'm supposed to trim. So if you've made a marker and you know that you want the clip to be trimmed at that exact frame, don't rely on your eyes and your mouse. Instead, hold on a second. Make sure we're there. There we go. Instead, do what they said in the ebook. Edit. Trim clip, start to insertion. So we're telling it to trim this clip from the start of the timeline to the insertion point, which is the blue arrow. So trim, clip, start to insertion. Boom. Now we know for sure that it is trimmed up to the point that we selected because it's the memory location point that we selected in the last exercise. Obviously, if I went here to Sunbake, now my cursor is there. If I went up edit, trim clip, end to insertion, then it would trim this clip from the end of the timeline all the way back to the insertion point. Let's just so you can see that looks like. See, there you go. So using memory locations and edit, trim to, where was it? Edit, trim to selection. It's a good way to sort of like cut out big portions of the clips you don't need. But we didn't need to do that last one, so I'll just undo that. So if you did follow along with that, undo it because we don't want to cut off the end. I was just showing you the power of Pro Tools. Okay, place the fire effect. We're going to go into slip mode. Slip mode is the mode that we are in, I would say, 90% of the time. We'll go into shuffle, grid, and shuffle and grid later on in this class. We did spot a little bit last time. Slip, though, that is just, I would call that the anarchy setting. You put it on slip, you could just move your clips however you want. There are no rules. And that's usually what we want to do. So click on slip mode, use the grabber tool, and select the clip on the fire effects track. Drag the clip to the right so the start of the clip lines up with the Sunbake memory location. It doesn't need to be an exact placement. A vertical yellow line will be visible on the track at the marker location. Use this line as a visual guide. Okay, let's do it. This is the fire effects track. Got it. And we want the start of the clip to line up the sunbake memory location. Got it. So here's fire effects down here. So I am going to go into slip mode right there. Take the grabber tool, click on fire effects, and you see this is the vertical line that lines up with sunbake. Every time you make a memory location, it draws a vertical line throughout your edit timeline. So it's easy for you to visually see where you put marker locations. So they want me to put this over about right there at the beginning of the fire effect. So that's slip mode. I could just move stuff wherever I want, but I'm just going to put it right there. Okay. Let's short the music tracks. In this section, you'll remove a portion of drums, bass, guitar, and beat wave to fit the music within a 30-second spot. So now we're going to go to the grid button, turn on grid mode, activate the selector tool, and then make a selection on the drums track from bar 16 to bar 18. Drums track. Got it. Okay. So I'm just going to, just so I know what I'm working with, I'll just click on drums, right? Grid, selector tool, and it said bar 16 to bar 18. Well, let's zoom in a little bit using these little two buttons right here. Remember, this is zoom in, that's zoom out. So I'll put my cursor around bar 16, zoom in on that. Actually, yeah, there we go, just so you can see a little more. Drums. Okay, so remember, grid lines on the quarter note. So here's bar 16 and here's bar 18. So bar 16, very easy to spot, all the way to bar 18. And the other thing you can do too is look up here when I'm selecting this. It's showing me where the selection is starting and where it's ending. So if I'm starting on 16 and I want to go to 18, boom, there it is right there. Visually, I see I'm between 16 and 18, and numerically, I could see I'm between 16 and 18. Extend the selection across the bass guitar and beat wave tracks by shift-clicking on the nameplate of the beat wave track. Got it. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you've done this in other programs where you click once on something and then you'll click on something else later in the document, for example. And then, you click once on something at the top and then you shift click on something later in the document or in the project, and it selects everything in between. That's what we're doing here with the shift clicking. We have selected this, and we want to select these same portions in the bass, the guitar, and the beat wave track. So, drums, bass, guitar, beat wave. I'll shift click on the beat wave nameplate. You'll see all these get selected, and you'll see it'll copy this selection across these tracks as well. Here we go. Pretty cool, huh? So now all of this is selected. What do they want me to do now? I'm going to guess delete it. Remove the selected media. Put the session into shuffle mode. Oh, we are doing shuffle today. That's cool. By clicking on the shuffle button in the toolbar, it will light red when active. Press delete or backspace. The selected audio will be removed and the remaining material will slide over to close up the gap. So what shuffle mode is powerful and dangerous. What it does is, I'll show you. When I'm in slip mode, if I hit delete, it just leaves a gap there. Undo that. If I'm in shuffle mode, shuffle doesn't like gaps. If you try and place something with a gap in the middle, or if you delete a portion of a clip in the middle, shuffle shuffles the remaining clips together. Shuffle does not allow blank spaces between clips. So when I hit delete here, these clips right here are going to shuffle back to here. So I'm in shuffle mode. These were selected. I hit delete. Watch. Look at that. Do it one more time. Shuffle mode. These guys are already selected like about 2 steps ago. And when I hit delete, this stuff is going to shuffle back to meet these clips. See? There we go. Okay. So return to grid mode, double-click on the zoomer tool to zoom out and view the entire session. Activate the selector tool when finished. Okay, go back to grid mode. That's the thing, you never want to accidentally stay on shuffle mode, because what I just did there is something I needed to do to bring this down to 30 seconds. But think about it if you have everything synced up, and then maybe on a voiceover track, you cut out a second of something in the middle. Well, if you're on shuffle mode, it's going to push, or it's going to shuffle it's going to shuffle the clips ahead of where you deleted back, because remember, shuffle doesn't like blank spaces between clips, and then that track will then be out of sync. We'll encounter that later on. I'm just letting you know that when you're in shuffle mode, you usually want to go out of shuffle mode as soon as you're done doing what you're doing, because you don't want to stay in it, because you could very easily get out of sync accidentally. So now we're back in grid mode. Double click on the zoomer to zoom out and view the entire session, and activate the selector tool. There we go. Here is our entire session. Remember, when you double click on the zoomer tool, it zooms in or zooms out on your timeline to show you the entire thing from the very beginning to the very end. It's a good way to do that. So for example, if I'm zoomed way in like that, if I double click on the zoomer tool, it automatically zooms back out so I see everything. That's what we just did right there. Activate the selector tool right there. And then last but not least, finishing up, review and save your work. Press enter, followed by the spacebar to begin playback from the session start to hear the results of your edits. I'll let you guys do that yourself, but basically hit return to go back to the beginning, and now hit the spacebar, and it'll play all the way through. And as you can see, it looks like we are close to getting this down to being a 30-second commercial. I have a feeling we are going to really fine-tune it in the next exercise. But for now, this is all we have to do. Save it, take a picture of it, and send me that, and exercise 9 will be complete.